where Adrian really, I don't think, understood who Nate Hamilton was with drift. And he just was working for a cool kid that was guiding him. From there, he was able to run with it, dude.
Yeah. Now you're living a lot of people's dream, which is crazy.
I'm excited to see what type of racing results I can get before I speak super quickly on just how it can win races. But I do know Toyota cares about drifting, and the car looks super sweet. And right out of the box, it felt awesome. So I'm excited to take it to the track and try to win a race. We got the car back from fabrication, and I want to say, Adrian, within a week, the team, they were flying down to shoot the car.
Oh my God.
So we were like, no wiring, no drivetrain, and the car was nowhere near finished. But what we needed to do was we needed to launch it in the public's eye, and we needed to aesthetically make it pleasing enough to look finished.
Welcome back to the #1 drift podcast on YouTube, presented by Injuku Racing. My name is Dawson, and today we have...
Get it, Adrian.
Hey, I'm Adrian. I work at 144 Print House, basically for Nate, and I've been on for like 3 years.
Hey, oh yeah.
Yeah, what up, guys? My name is Nate Hamilton, back for the second episode of Circle of Drift. Stoked to be here.
Appreciate it, man. Got a lot to talk about, especially with the car and stuff being done now. But before we get into that, make sure to look below the video. If that subscribe button is still red, go ahead and click that and hit the bell notification while you're at it so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, if you do want to win a pair of the BUMZ glasses each week until the end of March, literally all you got to do is comment and like the videos, and you'll get entered for a chance each week. So, and that's of your choice too. It doesn't have to be a certain one. And then, of course, we got the hosts of the merch here. So if you're not buying the merch, go ahead and jump to the link in the description. And you want to add to that?
Yeah, let's check it out. So we're working on our second design with you, which is exciting.
Oh, yeah.
So I know we dropped the Grassroots Hero, and then we're going to keep expanding from here.
Oh, yeah. And this one's going to be special because y'all have heard... I don't want to give too much up, I guess, but y'all have heard this over numerous podcasts, and it's going to be very fitting. So keep an eye out for that, either on here and on Instagram, stuff like that. But yeah, did you want to add anything else to that?
No, just like if you are listening and maybe you bought some merch, like hit us with some feedback on either how quick it came, how it was packaged. I know you got some goodies coming in your newest stuff, which will be cool, like little bonus things.
Yeah. So there's some Injuku stickers, Injuku with Circle of Drift stickers that are coming out. They're literally just going to be thrown in the merch. I don't care to make money off of them. They're just there to give some extra stuff to you guys. So show a little bit of extra support from me as well too.
The merch is cool to do with you, right? Like you come up with an idea, we get to create it, you get to put it on people's backs. It's cool to watch you grow.
Very.
Just excited to, keep tapping.
A lot of it thanks to you, of course, because you've kind of been a little bit of like dad mode almost. Big brother type stuff. So I appreciate that. You've helped me come a long way. Sure. So
absolutely.
But yeah, all the parts and stuff that we will speak about, I know we'll probably get into quite in depth on the car. So you can find majority of these parts on Injuku and stuff like that. So yeah, without further ado, I'll let you guys kind of give a more in-depth introduction to who you are. I know you've done it before, but maybe you go ahead and start off first.
Yeah, so I've been working on cars since like 16 years old. I've never seen really a drift car until I met Nate.
Really?
3.5 years ago. So never gotten into drifting. This is my first, gig in drifting.
That's epic, dude.
I actually came on.
You know how many people long for that? Like that want that bad in the comment section?
Yeah, I actually came on here as to rap. So I came.
Oh, okay.
I came here wanting. I used to do like raps in my garage while I was in college, and I just been doing that for so long. And one of Nate's friends, Max First, has seen me in the back over here, actually.
Nice.
Shooting photos of my Evo back in the day. And it was wrapped, and I was using it to promote my raps. And he brought me back to before where 144 was, which is 120 right here.
Yeah.
I came in, and I seen the 240 just bare, just metal.
Nothing.
Just a hunk of metal. And I was like, this is cool. Like, this is a really cool place. And then, a few months later, I've been friends with one of the guys that used to work here, Tristan. And he kind of got me in the door because Nate was really needing his car wrapped after he got the car back together. And so...
solving problems, baby.
Yeah, basically, I was down the road wrapping cars in my garage, and he hit me up and was like, hey, there's a drift car that needs to be wrapped. Are you down to do it? And I'm like, yeah, sure. When can you drop it off? And he was like, oh, no. We got a shop and it's just down the road. And I'm like, oh, okay. I can do that. Just bring my tools. And I pull up and it's the same car. And I'm like, wait, I didn't know. Like,
no way.
This was the same thing. And he was like, yeah, can you wrap this in 4 days? And I was
What'd you say?
I have never, first of all, I've never wrapped like fiberglass before. I don't know how that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just used to wrapping like people's normal cars because obviously no one's drifting around here with fiberglass, bodies. So
CODP,
it was definitely a good first. And Nate actually let me go with him to that event. Long story short, I did maybe till like 2 a.m. every single day until I got it done. And then we went straight to, where was that? Stupid Cold?
Yeah. We gotta give him the.
Oh, was that my last event? That Stupid Cold?
This one, so
like 21?
Yeah, Scott brought us out.
No
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
That's my first
hilarious.
drift event ever.
Oh my God.
We got to give him the business story though as well. Like, so through Tristan, right? So through an old employee of ours, like we were able to connect with Adrian. Adrian was like the local underground pro rapper in town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I knew that I was always needing my chassis to be rewrapped, right? Because we always would design and then every year. And it's just,
dude, you were going through them.
But Adrian pulled up and he was like, I'm really interested in A, working here, and B, wrapping cars. And I remember Adrian, we were like, it was like me and my lady at the time just kind of running the front of the show. You know what I mean? So it was like, we had an opportunity with Adrian, and it was like, hey, Adrian, I don't know anything about wrapping a car. I'm not interested in operating a wrap company. So if you could build a business plan and show me how this makes sense, I think we could like work on it together. And in the meantime, let's wrap my 240. That way we can show kind of customers what we can do.
Yeah.
In the back of my head, it was like a way for me to kind of just gamble on myself, right? Like obviously I'm not going to sign a customer up with a employee that I didn't know who could do what with, right? So, and the story goes, by the time we wrapped the 240, customers came in and they were like, oh, you're wrapping cars. And then boom, Adrian would have a next wrap. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so you mentioned business plan, though. I know you mentioned that in the first podcast as well. What type of business plan? Like, go a little bit more in depth by what you meant on that.
Well, it was the idea that, like, at that time, which, Adrian, this was almost 3 years ago, the print house was yet so small that it wasn't able to, let's say, hire Adrian full-time to just be a mechanic and drive around to drift events. Right. So, like, we weren't looking to hire a mechanic for drifting, but I knew that we would get requests to wrap cars, or like the whole screen printing world is like screen print, embroidery, vinyl, decal, wrap, like it all just flows together.
Yeah.
And so I knew that if I did have a wrap installer, I could get business in the door and potentially we could make some money and give Adrian a job.
Yeah.
That was the original focus on Adrian. So in this, Adrian basically went home, figured out all the math, showed me how much, all the cogs would be, right? So the cost of goods to create a wrap, what his time could be, what his labor could be. And we did all the math and we were like, okay, cool. I think this can be something that we can lean into. And like I said, wrap the 240, then we had multiple others that followed it. But what really turned me on to Adrian was his attention to detail as an actual mechanic has actually started to like shine more than just wrapping cars.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's interesting because usually, like, for paint and body guys, you would never see them touch a wrench or vice versa, whatever. But wrapping is, I guess, different. Like, how does that venture from wrapping to being a mechanic? You don't ever see that.
So what actually happened was, obviously, I started working here more often, and wraps would come in, and I basically would ask Nate, "Can I is it cool if I work on my car?" Just because. You have to imagine, I'm in college. I have this little baby garage, and it's stacked full of car parts, tools.
You're just trying to find resources where you can.
Yeah, and I used to have what you would call a stance car. It was the Evo 10.
Fucking right.
And it was on the ground, on coilovers, and I just wanted to work. Things would break.
Yeah,
I just moved here. All the roads are ass, and I had
he ain't lying, dude.
I had a few fiberglass parts, very rare fiberglass parts that I didn't want to damage, and I kept breaking them. I'm like,
Okay,
I can just fix this myself. So I did some, YouTube typical.
Yeah.
And
YouTube University.
learned how to fix it myself. And I would do it here because the garage would be full of stuff.
Yeah.
And so Nate, I guess, just noticed me working on my own car more and more and more. And then come around Stupid Cold when I went there just to watch and enjoy the car that I wrapped, drive around and see what Nate's about.
View your masterpiece.
Yeah. And it turns out I just decided, I was like, I feel bad. He's doing this all by himself. He's drifting, changing his own tires.
Yep.
Filling up his own gas. I'm like, I can do that.
Dude, I love this.
And so I just kept, asking like, hey, do you need help with that? Yeah, sure, do it. And so I would do it. And then the more, like, that's just how that started.
Yeah.
And then I got more
And
into
how old were you at this time?
22, 3. I was in college then.
You're still pretty young.
Yeah.
Of course. Dude, I love that because I see a lot of those people that are looking, I get them in the comment section nonstop or in my DMs, trying to find their route to having a career in drifting. And that's like as simple as it gets, the version that you just, or I guess not even really a version, that's your life.
Yeah.
But what the story you told, like that's, when you break it down, it's very simple. And that's something that I was confused about and came to you about. So I love the dynamic that you've built for a lot of the guys coming into the sport. And
yeah, we had far less structure with Adrian then, right? Like I knew from kind of my Formula Drift past how to build structure in motorsports, but also I was not necessarily applying it because I'm a huge kind of universal thought type dude where it's like, if I watch what Adrian does naturally, he will then fit into the roles that he would fit into naturally. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened to be that he was like good at turning a wrench, good at organizing the pit, good at making sure that tire pressures and fuel, and just actually became like the rock star he is today by just like doing it naturally. Because to your point, you know what I mean? For a pro tip for anyone in the comments, it's like, for those who are very hungry to do something, I do think you will get there if you just apply, one foot in front of the other, where a lot of times it's like, I want all of the reward as fast as possible. So someone give me this job, where Adrian really, I don't think understood who Nate Hamilton was with drift. And he just was working for a cool kid that was guiding him as like a mentor, into business. And from there, he was able to just run with it, dude. Yeah.
Now you're living a lot of people's dream, which is crazy.
It's funny because it's true. Like I really fell in love with this because I felt like I was doing something really, really cool, and I didn't know really what I was doing, but I knew I was going in the right direction. Going to that first drift event, I really didn't care that much about drifting.
Yeah.
I didn't. That was never a goal of mine to be some sort of like star mechanic or to be in the drift scene. Like I didn't really care at all. I just knew that I could do what he's asking me to do, and that I could do it really fast or really well. Yeah. And so I guess I just grew to love it. It's so funny crazy. Because I didn't really care
it's
for
a different way to get into drifting.
I actually had 2 roommates back in the day that were obsessed with drifting. They would watch all of the FD stuff. It was back when there was FD Texas, and they actually watched Nate drift at these events.
That's crazy.
And I was in college, and my parents are super strict, so they're like, you can't do any of that stuff. Just study. And it's funny, I just never really got into it until I started doing it here. So
I've seen that a lot. So like with having more strict parents, you're kind of restricted in your life. So you kind of learn how to slow yourself down. I had my parents were very open with me. They didn't go to college. They didn't push that shit on me, which thank you. I appreciate that. I despise college, but it did teach me how to, I guess, want to speed things up, which was a big problem that I had. So I love seeing that.
And on that note too, like something that comes to my mind is like, what was so amazing about the timing with Adrian was, you got to remember 144 selling t-shirts, and we're a small business, right? So by no means was there lack of dudes that wanted to work at 144. It's just when you become a, let's say, pro mechanic, or when you get out of college and you have a certain degree, your cost of entry can be so high because someone says the cost of entry is this high, right? Like, I'm a pro mechanic and I deserve XXX for a year. And it's like, damn, that is awesome. And I want to give you that. But at that time, 144 was so small, you know, someone like Adrian kind of in college, coming out of college, working wrap business with me, working, mechanics with me. Like, we've been able to grow Adrian as an employee. And that was huge for 144 because, you know, shout out to whoever's listening that knows who I'm talking about, but there was people who were ready to be here that I straight up could not afford. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So another pro tip, right, is like if you're a young kid out there and let's say you do align with a company or you really know you align with a brand, it's like sometimes taking a little bit of a less of pay to actually invest some sweat equity in that company is a good thing to do.
Yeah, work for free a little bit.
I mean,
just to show them what you're made of.
Well, it never was for free. You know what I'm saying, Adrian? We always paid you, but like definitely to get Adrian to the level that he deserves, we're still working on today. You know what I mean? Like it's a growing together thing versus I have a certificate. Here's how much that I should be paid. And let me start tomorrow, you know?
Yeah. So when did you kind of realize, I guess, he had the mechanic ability to take on, especially an elaborate build like this? Like, when did you find the trust in him just by watching what he was doing on his own stuff?
Well, luckily we had the 240. So we had the Enjuku 240, right?
Okay, yeah.
So that chassis had just obviously kept getting its ass kicked year after year. But we had Adrian to say like, all right, let's do, you know, new fuel pumps in it.
Yeah.
Let's replace the radiator. So we always had these small projects just to keep it alive. And what I would realize is like we would pick a project and the project would literally resemble some of the best work that I was used to. So then by the time that I think we spent about a year, Adrian, and we just completely refreshed the 240 to where like literally from wiring to all the plumbing to all the suspension. And as I kept getting back into drifting, because you got to remember in 2017, I wanted to leave drifting. 2018, I was out of drifting.
Yeah, I was like falling off.
So I was very relaxed with my drifting. Like I wasn't eager to be pro again. I wasn't like needing to have a crazy schedule with us. So we were able to take like baby steps in this thing together. But I just would realize like everything we would do would just go so well. And then once the 240 was just brand new again, other than the chassis.
It's like, damn, this kid actually knows what he's doing.
Exactly. And then from there, it just, with the opportunities that I was pitching to partners and when something would get approved, like the GR86, it was pretty much just like, hey, Adrian, we're going to do this thing. And he's like, okay.
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we'll go a little deeper into that because I know I want to talk about the build and how you relate to that because I'm sure almost 80-90% of it is you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Is there anything that you want to kind of shed some light on as far as the shop goes that has been done since last time that hasn't really seen the light of content?
I mean, yeah, like if I gave a quick overview of 144's print house and race studio, I would just say, we're kind of finding ourselves being like a creative solutions for motorsports. So screen print, embroidery, graphic design, we're getting into fulfillment. I'm starting to try and let's say create new lanes of business inside of the business, such as, hey, what's up? I'm a kid that wants to create merch, but I don't want a website. I don't want to go to the track and try to sell it when I'm trying to focus on drifting. My mom won't be there to set the tent up and like sell them. You know what I mean? But it's just like I'm remembering myself as a young kid and trying to be the solution for some of the kids coming up. And I think that that's kind of our 2024 focus right now is just like,
that's inspiring.
Just be a plug for the drivers that need to focus on driving, but also want to make some money on merch and just kind of expand where we can. Cause like the screen printing world, we've got dialed, right? So like that one lane of income, we're starting to get our math on our current machines and know how much we can produce a year. But things like print it, then fulfill it is a new different lane for us, right? Or like,
gotcha.
So yeah, we're just trying to help the young kids out there that are going drifting. And not even just the young kids, right? We're just trying to help drivers that are ready for that flow of traffic. And, Yeah.
Well, I saw, because when we were trying to set up my page, you did like a whole revamp of the website. It looked like, so it looks phenomenal, by the way. But what was is that part of that reasoning is just kind of, you're just trying to revamp stuff and just keep it fresh?
Yeah, I mean, I think like with the website in particular, it's like we hired Kaylee Zozos, right? So she was our original Tire Streets rep, who actually, after getting the GR86 deal done, left the company. But she was such a mentor for me, and, you know, self-value, and, you know, she taught me a lot. And so between her background in e-commerce and our current team with Caden, you know, and Bailey and Austin with graphic design, I just really needed to turn all of that into kind of a new wave, if you will. And so the website is something that you see us update probably every other year, right? Like, just keep it fresh, and it needed to represent what I'm talking about right now. Right? You hop on,
100%.
Shop, Circle of Drift, boom, you got your stuff, right? Shop, Grant Anderson, shop, Nate. Like,
and it's like, because I'm weird like this, but whenever the original one, like just to go to, let's say, Grant's page, because mine wasn't there. So you would have to go through, I think it was 3 or 4 clicks to get to the page.
Listen.
And then, dude, no, now the new website, it's like 2 clicks, boom, you're there, so much simpler. I'm like, what? Stuff like that doesn't ever cross anyone's mind, but it does at the same time.
This is all Kaylee and Caden, right? So in my world, like I built all of this when I was younger. So it was the original website, the second website, the third website, the fourth website was just Nate's like ADD brain on just like, I don't know, this looks cool. And like when Kaylee stepped in, she was able to explain, I'm going to scroll this much. I want to click. I want to be there, you know, just so shout out to Kaylee. That's all them. But I do think that the new website is like representing us well.
Hell yeah. I relate that a lot to, because I tell my clients and stuff, your Instagram bios, and quit spilling out, like they'll put a quote in there and then they'll put like what their profession is and like all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, tell them what they can find on your website and move on. Yeah. You're making it too long-winded. So I like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of
brain.
There's a lot of like subconscious thoughts that go into those actions, and I don't think like that. But I try to build the best team around me. Like I always talk about when hiring, we talked about this, Adrian. It's like our next mechanic we want to hire has to be way better than Adrian, right? Like everyone I'm trying to hire at 144 needs to take us to a new level versus, you know, we came from that, hey, I'm getting out of college. Hey, let's grow together, where I'm really trying to grow into a world where just everyone's ready for the opportunities at hand, because 144's, you know, thankfully the phone rings a lot. And I think we have a lot of opportunity to help our drifting and motorsports industry. And I'm honestly just trying to keep up with it at this point.
So speaking on that, with the growth of everything, and now, like, how old's your kid again now?
Indy is 1.8.
1.8. What the fuck?
Leaders.
He's a Jetta.
He's a year and 18 months.
Okay, so with that, since he is so young and the terrible twos is coming, how are you managing keeping the kid aspect with the drifting lifestyle for one, and then on top of that, owning a very successful business? How do you manage it? Because I like Luke Fink's argument to that, but I'm curious what yours is.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, you know, I want everything I'm about to say, I know will not fit in everyone's bubble. So hear me out. But it's like, me and my lady, I think, have a really, really strong relationship, and a lot of the thought process that goes into what decisions we make with Indy. Meaning, when I was at Injuku Racing in 2017, and I decided to move to Texas in 2018 and marry my hometown love, this was all just the thought. And all of that came true. My lady's working a job she hates. Nate's hand screening for a full year straight, making shy of $100,000, thus netting 15 grand, not paying himself. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I knew that this dream could work, and my lady stuck with me. Flash forward till today, she's a quote unquote stay-at-home mom. Obviously she has roles here at the shop, but she's able to design her own day, and Indy is her full-time focus. So for us, that reality of that freedom from just an idea that we had multiple years ago sets us free today. So she's like down for what is our next mission, right? Which is between us, but it's like she just understands what we're doing. And this allows for us to have just clear communication on Indy. So Indy comes to 144 about every day now. So he's up here every day.
Dude, I love seeing him in the videos.
He's so falling on his face, man. He's a hectic kid. But I think he's gaining a lot of culture here, right? Like there's 9 humans at the shop every day.
Yeah.
And he gets to hang with all of them, and they all teach him different things. And, you know, it alleviates my lady to have her mornings, and then she shows up to the shop. And so I just think with Indy, me and my lady basically threw him into the program, and we just said, he's got to keep up with us because this can't fail. Because if this fails, then Indy doesn't have, you know what I'm saying? We can't feed him if this fails. And that was our mindset behind it. But you got to remember too, like when we knew we were having Indy, she was halfway through pregnancy and we did not know she was pregnant. So we weren't the family that was planning to have a kid. We had contracts in place that I needed to fulfill the year that Indy was born. You know, we by all means put Indy first, but he's definitely in the passenger seat, and he's definitely he's strapped in, and he's coming with us, you know?
Awesome. Well, what's one of the best memories you've got so far with him, either in the shop, at the track, whatever?
I mean, I guess to just run a little bit more personal here, I would just say our birth for sure. Like, you know, for those who don't know, we had a home birth, and my lady is just this gnarly chick that was like, hey, I'm doing no doctor, no medicine, nothing. And
damn,
I caught Indy. We did a home birth, and it went like 99% smooth. Like it was just so smooth.
I've heard that actually. We didn't got to go down that road, but like, yeah, I've actually heard that keeping the doctors and keeping it not only is it way cheaper, but
yeah. And again, it doesn't fit in every bubble, right? Like or everyone's box. Like I know this isn't like a mainstream thought, but for us, it was just Indy's birth was the gnarliest thing I've ever done to date. And that will always stand out as one of the heaviest memories. But let me lighten it up a little bit. Yeah, just around the shop, like he will learn from Adrian how to put tools back, right? Like he's learning like how to not run around with a wrench and scratch our paint. He's scratching paint on a car. We're just Indy. Yeah. What do you think?
At least most of it's final.
Yeah, basically, like, so me and my girl, she also runs or helps run the print house. We also babysit him every so often.
Oh, awesome.
As well. So they trust us enough to hang out with him a lot. So me and my girl have definitely bonded with Indy, and just seeing him every day. Like there's times where he's got like they'll go on vacation and we miss him. Yeah, a lot. And so it's just because he's just like a little ball of sunshine. He'll like walk around and he's got the biggest smile on his face, and you just like you can't be mad when the kid's just over here. Like he'll be on the other side of the shop, and I'll just be like frustrated, just looking around, thinking,
"Wait, what was I doing?"
He's just over here with the biggest, like, trying to get my attention on the other side of the shop, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then he'll he always is interested into what I'm doing, so like, he knows how to put my tools back. He knows how to use. He has his little of my wrenches or one of my ratchets.
Dude, pattern recognition is so much easier for kids.
And
much easier.
He listens so well. It's unbelievable. You'd be like, don't touch that. And he's like, okay. Puts it down and then goes and does something else.
He's like, I'll touch something else then.
I got 2 nephews and it's not that easy.
Damn.
Yeah, but for everyone listening, I'm sure someone's thinking like, just wait, dude, just wait. And I feel that as well. Like now it's going super smooth. But I know this little boy is going to be wild as shit, dude.
Oh, yeah. If he's anything like you, right?
Yeah. You should see him on his little bike. He's already popping wheelies.
Oh, has he got one of the Strider bikes or something?
Yeah, say that again, Adrian. You got to hold your mic up, dude.
Sorry. He's popping wheelies like every morning. Like he'll just be on there rocking. And he's like holding his weight back. And I'm like, what? I can't even do a wheelie right now.
Get him a crazy cart now.
It's coming soon.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. So with all of the people that say that having a kid and doing drifting is too complicated, what is your best piece of advice to that for anyone that does have a kid and is trying to get into the sport? Not necessarily already in it, but.
I mean, I think, I would say like, man, I want to go like pretty deep right here, but it's like, complicated for who, right? Because Indy doesn't know it's complicated. So like, I think whether it be, I could parallel that with saying like, oh, taking a 1-year-old on a plane is super complicated. And it's like, for who? Indy doesn't know the difference, right? He's just hopping on a plane, waving at people, and he just wants to run around. So like,
for all he knows, he's in a room.
Yeah. So it's like kind of saying, maybe give it a chance, or, I guess you got to love drifting enough to push through the quote unquote complications of it, because ultimately I think the kids don't know, right? Like, and I think drifting and being around the paddock and being at a shop with a bunch of sharp stuff and ink and chemicals is like gnarly, but it's teaching them very quickly some life skills that I think would be worth it. So I think the more complicated, the better for us right now.
Yeah. I agree with that, especially with all the dangerous, I guess, stuff around. I'm someone that you can tell me a million times, like, it's got to be this way. It's got to be this way. Well, actually, I just said this the other day. You can tell me the stove's hot, but I'm not going to know it's hot until I go touch it.
Yeah.
I'm just one of those people. So
yeah, I mean, and that's what I mean. I think it's like, it would be easier to be like, oh, it's tough to get into the track and keep them in the paddock and not running around, or like, there's a lot of things that are like tough about it, but also ultimately we want him to be around it. And the sooner he'll learn these lessons, I know Luke Fink will kind of nod at this one too, because that's how I see his kids run, right? Like his kids run around the paddock, but I don't know their ages off the top of my head, but let's imagine they're 5 and 6 or 7 or whatever, but they're already like trained, bro. They put their helmets on to ride their bikes.
They're awesome. I love seeing them at the track.
So like I was able to watch that, and then, just the inspiration behind that was just like, the sooner I get Indy more and more involved, the easier then it will be.
Yeah.
Right? So like, I feel like the more you delay the younger kids getting into the complicated areas of things, the harder it'll be later.
Damn, that's good advice. I don't even have a kid.
Reverse engineering.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, we'll get off the sappy and like more real topics. I guess let's get give a rundown on the GR86 from your perspective, and then you can give one afterwards if you want.
So
see the difference.
In a very small explanation, it's similar to the 240, but not so similar as far as like the engine package goes. But everything else is like, the reason why I was able to accomplish that. Obviously, I've never built a drift car before.
Right.
This is my first one I've managed the entire time. And
what an epic build for your first. Dude, it's wild.
And I basically just obviously learning the 240 and things that break or things that obviously didn't age well.
Yeah.
I basically changed it. But for the most part, it's, the tried and true stuff.
Yeah.
So,
what were some of those things that you did have to change?
Just like things that I didn't like to do, or things that would take longer than it should be to take, I guess. So
like down to as simple as taking the bumpers off and stuff like that?
Things like that. Just like I learned a lot with that 240. So, pulling the clutch, for example, like that took a lot longer than it should take, just because the way it was, done.
Configured.
And obviously things have come out since that car's been built. So I utilized, the new stuff that's a lot easier. So, for example, like dry brakes, just a simple little part.
Oh, yeah.
I can pull that clutch and put it back in under an hour, and I don't even have to bleed it afterwards. So, like, the serviceability.
They work that well?
They work incredible.
I hear, like, mixed, like, emotions on dry brake setups.
So, for me...
I've never ran them, so I have no idea. But
just because of, ironing out the car, I've pulled that transmission already, 7 times? And I've gotten really fast at it. And it really helps because the dry brake. Like, I'm so glad that that's in there. But it is a breeze to work on for the most part. So learning all those things, as a mechanic, especially when you're under pressure. Obviously, I did a lot of the clutch kicker stuff, and I've, been on tour with Nate for 2.5 years now. You get tired of things that take too long. And I just like to make it as fast as possible, because I don't want to knock Nate out for me taking too long on doing something.
Yeah.
So the biggest goal for me when I built this car was to streamline that and make it as easy for me in my job to do in any situation.
Yeah. Just to touch on that. So like if someone wanted to go into their car just trying to find some of the most like the simplest ways to make the off-track time faster, what would you suggest based off of what you've done to this car? Other than the clutch and stuff like that.
I mean, I'm sure it differs between all the builds, you know. Things like to break more often on certain cars than others. So, for example, I like to use the steering rack. So we have on the S13, we have, you know, the S13 steering rack with, I think, the Bink Industries relocation kit.
Okay.
And there's 4 Allen bolts there.
Yeah.
On each side. So there's 2 like little C-clamps. And so that takes, like, I'm pretty sure that takes me and Brandon about an hour to do for just a steering rack. And that's like really long.
Yeah, for one
in any
that's
case,
relocated.
he gets in something weird. Like, for the most part, we're probably going to get knocked out if we keep doing that. You know? And so I'm really glad I was able to work with Josiah on, you know, the front steer and everything for this car. He really helped me out with that. But I was really into the way that he wanted to use the E46 steering rack. So what we're using in that is the E46 M3 steering rack. And that's just 2 bolts. It's 2 bolts, knock them out, take out the steering rack as long as you get the...
That's suggested just because of the 2 bolts.
Well, that's something
like
that I was like super down for. We were kind of choosing what steering rack we wanted to use. I think there was an option to do the S13. That way we have like the same parts. We don't have to have multiple spares in the trailer for either whichever car we wanted to use. That was like my original plan, was to make as many parts interchangeable between the 2 cars as possible. But that was just something that I really wanted to utilize because it was so much easier to, you know, slip off and put on.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Yeah, from my perspective, it's like saying, you know, what Adrian learned on the 240 and all the quote unquote like hardships you'd have in competition, it'd be more like saying the way that he would set the layout for the parts, whether it be the PDMs, the, you know, battery, like he was able to think more about how do I take this out versus how do I put this in, right? So like when dudes are building a car, it's like, oh, this just looks good here, or this just fits here, or this just, and you're not necessarily maybe thinking like, I'm going to be in a field and I'm going to be under this car and I'm going to have to do this in the dark. And then this process equals this. So this is the best way for me to do it in those situations. And then that's how we applied it to the car versus just, it looks good here. It's easy to do this here, blah, blah, blah. Right, Adrian? You know what I'm saying? Like you thought more about like, I'm going to have to replace these things often. And this is how it will come out easy and back in easy. And that was applied to the GR86.
Yeah, like serviceability was huge.
Do you think you could accomplish that without going through all of the circumstances that you went through, like the previous years?
I mean, that's a good question.
Because, like, I mean, if there was, because the only reason I asked like suggestions for others is for that reason.
I want to believe. I want to believe in yes.
See, there's got to be something.
If you're a young kid in a garage right now, just think more about how you're going to break it, tear it apart, and put it back in than just like aesthetically it looks cool that it's put here.
Yeah.
One of the easy examples is like our brake reservoirs. In the 240SX, they're underneath the suede dash, which looks sick, right? Like they're hidden.
I pointed that out whenever I got in there.
Yeah, it's like they're hidden, but on the GR86, they actually are at the top of the dash, up in the speaker on the driver's side.
Yeah.
So it's like I can see the fluids. We can easily pop a cap off and refill fluids. And aesthetically, it may not be like, holy shit, we love this, but mechanically it's like we're ready for competition with this thing.
It makes sense.
It took a little while for me to, you know, get the right angle, but it looks really nice in there.
Yeah, I didn't notice it at first when I sat in there. And then I finally looked up and I was like, oh, that's convenient.
That was like one of the multiple things that there was like a few spaces to put that thing. And just, we ended up erring on the side of, you know, serviceability, figuring out like, for example, if it were to leak, we would know immediately, or Nate would know immediately because it would be right by his feet. Versus like if it was in the cowl, you wouldn't be able to tell there's a leak, or you wouldn't be able to tell if there's, you know, fluid in it.
Yeah, you'd be relying on someone else to scream loud enough.
Yeah, exactly. And until I, you know, opened the hood.
But that's smart. But to your original question, I do think with today's knowledge and like, like all the data out there. I think kids could build cars that are very easy to service or easier to service right out the box. Like,
Yeah, dude, and especially with CAD, man, you can make anything in that if you know how to use it. Beyond my expertise, of course, but
but we did go grassroots style, and we went through the fire together, and we just had to get through some of those grid lives where we were pulling gearbox and gearbox. Like we definitely we learned the hard way.
Yeah, we learned the hard way for sure, but I guess that's what makes me be able to do that, because I've never drifted before. This is my first job in drifting. I don't know I've never been on a pro team before either. So this is a first for a lot of things. So the fact that I was able to use a 240 and go through those tough times really helped with what I prefer, to have on the car. So it's easier for me to work on.
It's a crazy dynamic because it's no longer what the driver wants on the car.
Yeah.
It's what the whole team wants.
It's funny. There's that whole car, it was mostly my decision. With the few times where I needed him for, the things that he would be touching, where things need to be, how he'd want it. That's all, driver specific. But besides that, he pretty much trusts me, picking everything out for that car.
It was very interesting at how hands off I was on the GR86 build. The print house itself was going so crazy that my attention was obviously to keep paying bills and make sure the shirts were coming in and out the door. But yeah, Adrian was the project manager of the GR86 from start to finish. And a lot of times he'd ask me questions, which my answer was, what would you do? Or yes. So then towards the tail end, he just was like, I know what Nate's going to want and I can make these decisions. And it just started to flow easier and easier.
No. What percentage do you think you said you had over the entirety of that build? I know I just threw a number out earlier, but
to be in complete honesty, I would say 75 to 80%. I definitely had a lot of help. So
I'm sure.
I reached out to a lot of people. Someone that really, really helped me, through the finish line was Connor Murphy at Continental Customs in Austin. He came up here anytime I needed him.
No shit.
He came up here anytime if I had a problem, if I couldn't do anything or wasn't comfortable doing it myself. Obviously, I'm a rapper. I don't weld. So that's new to me. I'm learning how to do it, but he came anytime I needed him, he would just show up.
Yeah.
And so that was huge for me.
Yeah, and for those listening, you got to remember too, 144's print house and race studio, we had the 240 that was pretty much just oil change, parts replacements. We had a done car that we weren't fabricating a lot on.
Right.
So with Adrian, it's we are very used to operating a racing program and maintaining drift cars, but we aren't fabricating here at the shop. We don't have the tooling. We don't have the knowledge. And so when we sent the car off for fabrication and we got it back, we obviously quickly realized there was a lot more that needed to be fabricated. And that's where Connor came in. So we looked at the list of 13 things that needed to be finished. And we were like, okay, cool. Now we have to find an outsource that could come up to Adrian because we are not letting this car out of our sight again. And shout out to Connor Murphy. That's where he came in, and he would drive from Austin to Texas overnight, and he would sleep on the wherever as many times as he needed. And he was able to really take Adrian's ideas and make them a reality.
Okay. Were there any of those moments that were not necessarily highlighted in y'all's content that you would probably want to shed some light on? What was most interesting to you?
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff, I want to touch on this because I was doing it just a second ago, was because we don't have, a lot of these things to fabricate or to engineer or to do any of those things. I turned to poster board. So basically the same thing as cardboard, but poster board. And I've done very well on figuring out what that car needs based off of that versus paying a lot of money or figuring out who can make that part for me instead of, just buying the part or having something that's, off the shelf that doesn't really fit right. I was able to make my idea in 3D, and then Connor would come and make it in metal. And so a lot of this stuff that was really one-off, we work really well together.
An example would be we needed a catch can up on the engine bay corner, right? And it was
Okay.
like, this is a 2023 chassis. Not a lot of people have an off the shelf, fits right here, tucked in the corner product. And Adrian would have a full 3D display when Connor would show up, and then he would just build that, and then we would be done on to the next thing. So,
Like a third grade project, super glue and tape everywhere.
Yeah, I have a whole oil cooler mocked up right now. And it's
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. That's hilarious.
yeah, it was sick though. But I mean, it also then expands Adrian into the world for me where I'm like, okay, cool, we're that close, right? Like if I lean into the tooling and I get the supplies that we need to actually fabricate, I'm building the confidence to know that, oh, our team could start to finish. Our team could start to fabricate, which would be cool. We just, in the grand scheme, are a small business that sells t-shirts. And so growing that department is something that, those tools aren't cheap.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? Welders definitely aren't. Okay, so what out of all of those things that you had to create on your own and fabricate all that stuff, what is the one that you would say you're most proud of on this car?
There's a few. There's like a lot of things, but I would say, the catch can. That one just came right off my head. And there wasn't really any changes.
Legos. I was in it.
Any changes, and it works phenomenally. So, I'd say that one works really well.
In your opinion, because we talked about this kind of last time, why do you think this was the correct chassis to use for this build?
So we went through a few options for a chassis. I know Nate was really into something that was brand new or something, current.
Yeah, more marketable.
Yeah, and I remember, so Austin, the graphic designer, he has an FRS. And we were just talking about how much we love Toyotas, and he was still on the Nissan train. Yeah. And we're like, you should just, do a GR86 or a Supra. Those are brand new. Those are
because you had the 370 out back at the time, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what happened, but one day he was like, you know what? Let's just do it. They're just in the backyard.
Yeah, I'm like, the young kid in me is like the biggest fan of Forsberg, right? So I've been in a Nissan my whole career, and I thought that it would be sweet to jump into a new Z or 400, whatever you want to call it. And I actually reached out to Chris, and I really tried to get that chassis. And that chassis with Accelera is the actual chassis that we had a green light on, right? So like essentially I had the 400 in mind. Me and Kaylee sold the package. We had all the money, and I went to get the car, and, publicly speaking, I just didn't fit into the box to get the car. So I really was not able to grab a new Z. So in this, the boys kept fucking poking me about Toyota. And then I knew the rep right in our backyard from Toyota.
Oh,
so I thought, let me hit up Darren and see just like,
made a little more sense.
Let me just see like how this could be. And sure enough, they were like, yeah, man, like, here's an opportunity. And we ran with it. And then we brought a brand new GR86 home, and I was like, look guys, we're going Toyota.
That's I believe you, because at the time, dude, when the Z had just come out, they were like, it was hard to find one less than 80 grand. Like they were absurd prices.
Well, given the opportunity that he had to get the 400, it wasn't even out yet. Right. So like getting that was already hard.
This was early 22.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like 21, we got the deal done. 22, we were searching for a car.
Yeah.
We didn't get a car till late 22. And then fabrication took 8 months down in Austin. That led us into 23. And then towards the end of 23, we basically had a car that was like ready to ride. And then here we are today.
That's insane. It's such a crazy chassis because it's so new.
Yeah.
No, I asked you this before we jumped on the podcast, but I wanted to make sure I asked you on. Do you see it as being one of the next go-to chassis for drifting? Because I already kind of do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be up to your own goals in drifting, right? Like, I think right now, the temperature in the room is like, maybe this chassis won't be the best competitive tool, but also for what I think 99% of us are doing, right? Where it's like, hey, Adrian, let's put a 2J in it. Let's keep the tire pressure, let's say at 14 to 20, and let's go have fun in this thing and go to grid life and go to fun competitions. And like, it's absolutely a car that's marketable and drives. Even just my 2 drives I've had in it, I feel as comfortable in my 240 as I do in the GR86. And so I definitely think it will be a highly, what's the word when like they create a lot of parts around it? Like, I think the car will be very lustful and it'll have a lot of backing in the
Aftermarket backing.
support.
It'll have a lot of aftermarket backing.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a very cool, aesthetically looking car. And I think that for me personally, what I ended up falling in love with was that they come manual, right? Like it's an enthusiast car.
Keeping it alive.
It's an enthusiast car. Like, so I definitely think I'm excited to see what type of racing results I can get before I speak super quickly on just how it can win races. But I do know Toyota cares about drifting, and the car looks super sweet. And right out of the box, it felt awesome. So I'm excited to take it to the track and try to win a race.
Oh, well, tell me about the first startup, because that had to have been pretty, especially for you. I could only imagine for you how much blood, sweat, and tears you dumped into that thing. What did it feel like? Well, like, because that's new build. Nobody's really done it.
Listen, I'm going to tell you the true story, right? Which is a lot of times when a deal like this happens, there's a lot of pressure, right? So the sunshine and rainbow side is like, oh, we got all this money and this is awesome and like, let's do this thing. And the reality behind it was we got all this money and there's all these deadlines and people are expecting stuff. And we spent 8 months in fabrication and we are behind. And then when we got the car back, we realized how much more the car even needed, which ended up being around 3 months, but it probably could have took us 6 months if you didn't work every single night, Adrian. And so
You psychopath.
the first startup felt a lot more like we were able to kind of just breathe for a minute. Then it felt like a huge reward. It was much more like, man, all right, we're getting there. The light at the end. So it was very, very tough. And there was a lot of pressure.
Oh, I'm sure. Especially, well, getting that final, it's like the whole weight lifted off your shoulders type deal. So with Accelera and Tire Streets, all that being the presenting sponsor of it, like what would you say is expected out of that level of sponsorship as far as deliverables and just out of any driver?
Yeah, I would say like, I think a lot of people will feel me on this because it scales, right? Like any partnership or any sponsorship usually results in I'm working for you, you're supplying me with something I needed, and so we want the net results together, right? So it was like, with Accelera, for example, they would ask, and we had to quote, how long would it take to build the car? And it's easy to say a year, but it's also easy to say 8 months, right? And then for someone like Connor or MA Motorsports or Chris Forsberg or Von Gittin Jr. or all these dudes, they're building cars in 3 months. Like they have a process where they can take a chassis A to Z and 3 to 4 months later,
a whole ass factory for
right?
it.
Or Matt Field doing it from an FD race to an FD race, right? Like, depending on how you can turn this whole program, it's like dudes can build cars very quickly. We did not. We took a long time. It took a long time in fabrication, and post fabrication needed more fabrication that took more and more time.
Yeah.
So, for example, when we got the car, a little behind the scenes. We got the car back from fabrication, and I want to say, Adrian, within a week, the team, so Mason, Drew, factory direct, and media, they were flying down to shoot the car.
Oh my God.
So we were like, no wiring, no drivetrain. We wrapped the whole car. Like, if you guys remember when we revealed the car publicly, that was just weeks after fabrication, and the car was nowhere near finished. But what we needed to do was we needed to launch it in the public's eye, and we needed to aesthetically make it pleasing enough to look finished, which we did a great job at. And it also brought a lot of life to the car, but it was things like that, right? Whereas like we have a deadline to launch the car publicly regardless of where the car is at. Mm-hmm. And so there was just all these checkpoints in the results of how do we start driving traffic to Tire Street's website? How do we, announce the program on time so people get excited about it? And obviously, like our dry sump setup, for example, when in fabrication, we realized that either front sump, rear sump, none of this was going to work, and we needed a dry sump. Well, that was like 30 days right there. That was a month in ordering a dry sump, you know, and obviously,
Holy shit.
Yeah, that wasn't the original plan to have a dry sump.
Oh, my
but things like
God.
this were popping up for us, and it just kept coming. Like there was just waves of, we need more parts. This didn't fit.
Yeah.
This needed to be that. This needed to be that. And so I think for Adrian and I, as we sit here today, we're just now starting to feel the rewards of like, we have an up and running car, 750 horsepower, and we're stoked to actually get back to maintaining and operating the racing program versus building the car.
And oh yeah, God, dude, like it's hard for me to wrap my head around it because it's such an insane build, and obviously you've got a more insane program than I've ever even seen physically. So how was the feedback from Accelera and Tire Streets throughout all of this headache and all the stress of like, can we make the deadline and all that? Like, what were they saying?
Yeah. I mean, I will say like it was very positive, and like I do at least the best job that I can try to do where I'm just very, very, very transparent, right? So like when things were going sideways, I'd let them know things went sideways. When things were taking too much time, I'd let them know things were taking too much time, right? Like, so I was very transparent in the process, which it's really tough to be pissed at me when I'm being completely honest with you. And we're going through a process that it just takes time, you know? So I will say they were very adamant about certain things, but they were also very lenient about certain things. And so it was a double-edged sword for sure, but like we got through it, and they're starting to see the results, and everyone's so proud of the craftsmanship of the vehicle, which I knew I had to hang on to, right? Like me and Adrian knew we could cut corners and we could maybe make them smile a little bit quicker. But then when you or anyone else spotlights this car, then they can pick at it and put a negative connotation on the build, which I think when anyone looks at this car, they're going to be like, wow, these boys put they cross the T's and dot the I's. Like,
Oh yeah, I from looking at it in person here, like that, I can't find anything wrong with it.
but for Accelera,
No, I don't know exactly what I'm looking at, but
but sometimes when someone, writes a check and wants you to build something, it's like they may not care about that, but I know how much that means in our industry.
Yeah.
So I knew keeping the build and the craftsmanship and like the debut at SEMA, like I knew that stuff was going to make it all worth it, even if they were going to be mad at me for a bit and like push me on a deadline,
Oh, I'm sure. Well, speaking of SEMA, how was that experience of debuting your first like crazy built car?
Epic, dude. I mean, I think for me, Adrian, I'll let you answer that too, but real quick for me, I think it was like, you got to remember, right? So I'm coming off the Formula Drift, like my old school background in Formula Drift. I had the Clutch Kickers grassroots scene, and then I jumped into the LZ World Tour, YouTube world. And for me, this SEMA was all of those people coming through to show me love. And I just really felt it. Every day, I talked my face off, and I just got to see whether it be Bagsy, all the pro FD dudes, all the YouTube kids, like everyone came and showed love. And I was just like proud of that moment a lot.
Hell yeah. And it's very relatable coming from you as well, because although you are mixed in with that influencer crowd and the YouTuber crowd, like you still are kind of the smaller fish, I guess you would say, in that era. So I don't know, it's more relatable to the average viewer of all of those people watching the content. So
yeah, for sure. Adrian, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, never been to SEMA, never built a car, but I knew there was a lot of people there, and there was going to be a lot of people looking real close, So it was definitely, I would say, the same kind of feeling of being behind the entire time. Because actually, when we debuted it at SEMA, the car didn't run. It still needed a good amount of things. Honestly, there was like a lot that still needed to be
like
done.
engine wise?
Yeah, like the wiring wasn't even, done.
Oh, okay.
Like
yeah.
we were missing sensors and stuff like that, just because like we were still in that process of building the car. And so it was funny because like I was working here so late just to try and get it. And, I'm being super picky on myself.
Of course.
To make this as physically pleasing to the eye so everyone can enjoy it, I know there's a lot of people that are going to be looking at it.
Nitty-gritties.
Yeah, like this is a crazy built car. And so I needed to make sure that everything was like clean, tidy.
Yeah.
Everything was done as much as it could be. And right after that, I think I stayed up till like, I don't know, 9 o'clock is when I called it. I had done, midnights before that, but 9 o'clock packed and then drove it in the morning. So I drove it to Vegas.
But hey, when the Rays booth came over and they seen it and they were admiring it and they were like stoked on it, I think that was a huge moment.
Yeah,
for us.
that was really cool. I've always
How did
loved
that feel from your side?
Really good for sure. There's a lot of people that I look up to or I've seen and was staring at the car and was like, holy shit. And I'm like, dang, that feels really good.
Is he actually there? Can you see him too?
Yeah. There's a lot of people I learned a lot of things from on social media and on YouTube and stuff. And for them to say that this car was done really well meant a lot to me. Just because they taught me a lot of things. They didn't know it, but they taught me a lot of things on how to do that.
Yeah. Was there anything that someone critiqued you on at SEMA that kind of helped you envision the next step for the build?
I got one.
Oh, shit.
The engine bay's color aesthetics.
Yes.
Okay, I was going to mention that actually.
Here,
Because it's all over the place, which is not a bad thing. Like, it does kind of look good, but I'm curious.
He said it does kind of look good. Well, no, listen, for us, no big deal.
No, I just like shit to match. And I like a very simple black engine bay.
And this is where,
That's just me.
Historically, 144, Nate, blues, purples, right? So it was like, these are our colors. And, I think when we ordered stuff, it was like, oh, it'd be sick if that was blue, if that was purple. And then when it all came together, I think we're like, man, I think if the intake was just black, if the valve covers were just one, we could clean it up.
Yeah. So for me, that was actually something that I asked the opinion on for Nate. So
okay.
He was like, I gave him the option because, Rad Dan was like, there's 3 things you could choose from. And if I put the order in, I have to pick one.
Yeah.
So pick one. And so I was like, well, this is, not cheap. So this might be something I need to consult with Nate. And if it were me personally, I think I would have also done just like all black.
Yeah.
All black to me, like all matte black looks so sick. But
that was Adrian's smooth way of saying, yeah. Nate did all that. Not me.
Like shit. I don't know.
I love the blue part, but then I didn't totally agree with the purple, but I knew it made sense. So I just trusted in the process.
Yeah.
And
so we have purple valve covers and blue fuel rails, right?
yeah, valve covers, and then the runner on the intake is blue.
Yeah. So it's fine, but the chrome and
I will say, it tops it off because of the livery you have on it. It kind of meshes everything together.
I will say, fuck everything. Listen to that thing run, bro.
Hey, that's no argument there. That thing's insane.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else y'all wanted to touch on SEMA? Or
I don't know. I think it was a cool experience, and yeah, it's a lot. Like bringing a car there is a lot because you have round numbers, like Sunday to Sunday. So
Yeah.
you got to load in before the show starts, and you can't leave till the show ends. And so for me, I am like, it's a lot of time.
I really enjoyed the driving, actually. Like
What?
Driving through the desert was really cool. I've never gone that way before.
That is cool.
So
yeah.
just getting to take in all the scenery was pretty cool.
Was that your first SEMA, like ever?
Yeah, ever.
Oh, okay. I still have yet to go to a SEMA.
Look at this kid.
I need to.
First SEMA, and he's just like bringing a new GR86.
Not even that. Like how long have you been here? 3 years, you said?
Yeah, 3 years.
It's 3 years. Like you're living almost every person behind the screen's dream. Come on, dude.
Come on, Adrian.
I do love my job. That's for sure.
Epic. I guess back on the GR86 instead of SEMA. So I flipped out whenever you first posted the video of you actually in car driving it. Mm-hmm. What did that feel like? Not only for you, but for you as well, because seeing it actually drive, I'm sure is wild.
Yeah, for me, I guess like it was really cool to see something that I put together do that well. Like I definitely didn't expect it to go that smooth, but it went very smooth.
Never confident in your own build, just expecting some.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing, right? It's like on one hand, you're like, whoa, I'm about to drive this thing for the first time ever. And on the other hand, you're like, what's going to break, right? Because you know, anything could break because nothing was tested on that car, meaning FDF kit is literally like a prototype to this day, you know? So we just didn't know what the car was going to do or feel like. But yeah, quick background story on that too. You guys will see on our YouTube where it was just like, so we had a little rollout for Accelera, right? We had some deadlines, which was start the car, dyno the car, first burnout ever in the car.
Right.
And we start the car, we go to the first dyno session, and that dyno session had some issues. And so that became episode 1. And then we were trying to get back to the dyno, but we couldn't get back to the dyno due to some family issues with our tuner.
Oh, okay.
So then we actually had to forward the first burnout ever in the backyard. So we had a super safe, no timing, 400-ish horsepower in the car, which for the backyard actually felt awesome. And I think that moment for me was cool because it was knowing the car now at 700 horsepower. The 400 horsepower was a bit more of a nice way to walk into the JZ platform. And then from there, we were able to go back and tune the car. And then from there, you guys haven't seen the 700 horsepower like burnout in the backyard stuff. But yeah, it's like probably a little bit more nervous on the shakedown. And especially you got to remember too, because it's like now that the car's done, it's like, let's get the car out in the world. And we are kind of like, well, we've never drifted this thing ever, right? Like seriously, dude.
This is all so new.
The first time I'm taking to this car to the track is already scheduled for a commercial. Like no lie, Dawson. Like,
dude,
in a week we're gonna be shooting a.
That doesn't put a pit in your stomach.
I mean, bro, I'm used to it. Like I gotta go for it. Like I can't say no to the commercial, and I can't get.
I don't blame you there.
But I can't get to a private track day before the commercial. So it's just like that. That type of energy is going down right now.
But I will say, like, he's done some stuff in the backyard, and it's crazy how comfortable he really is in it for not ever drifting it.
Oh yeah, just seeing from the reel, the first reel you posted at the 400 number, like you looked very normal. But so I guess are the positioning of the handbrake and everything kind of similar and stuff? So is that why it felt normal?
No, I think it felt, I think out of the box, it felt so comfortable because, let me say this again. I think driving the GR86 for the first time out of the box felt so comfortable because the math that Adrian and Josiah put in, I would say that had a lot to do with it, right? So like Adrian was able to loosely align the car. Josiah's math on the FDF kit, you know, we knew caster settings, we knew stuff that we wanted to do. So it was like, for the most part, we expedited some of that to at least have it in the ballpark of where we wanted to start testing. And so I think shock settings on the BC coilovers and then the FDF stuff just made it like out of the box close to where we wanted to start testing.
Nice. Okay. I mean, especially since they're just like S chassis. They feel like it on the inside. I will say that. I know I say it seems a little bit big, but it does kind of have that S chassis feel. More like S15, wider. I guess.
It's very wide.
Yeah. Very wide on the inside.
Well, let me say this. Driving it, like aside from worrying about stuff breaking or like worrying how the car's even going to feel, actually driving it, I was so nervous. Like it was the most nervous I've been in a long time just because I was like, this is a 2-year plan that is now absolutely real. And it's my job to jump in this thing and like not baby it and see what it's going to do, trust it. And again, I'm in, you know, our complex's backyard. So it was just, It was so sick though, dude. Like the motor's so responsive, the steering input, like I didn't spin out once. I didn't feel awkward. I was probably 5 feet off a K-rail. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, whoa. And I remember literally thinking like, all right, we can go to a race. Like right out the box. I was like, all right, let's go to the track. And like, I don't think I'm going to need a lot of time to get used to this thing. I think I will need.
It's crazy being such a different drivetrain.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know why. Like, I don't know how to explain that, you know?
I don't know what to do with my hands.
I mean, I kind of felt similar at the LZ World Tour in Mondello Park in Ireland, where it was like, I got thrown in a,
And it was an E80 2, I think. It was that 1 Series BMW.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I remember.
Right. So like, when I went to Ireland in Mondello Park, I got thrown in a 1 Series BMW, and it was just like, here you go. And I'm like looking over in the driver's meeting with Dyno and James Dean and just like all the boys. And it's like, go do well in this. Oh, it's going to rain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, you just kind of train yourself to work through those moments. But yeah, all that to say, just like getting used to stuff quickly is, I think, just the bar of entry these days.
Oh, definitely, with how fast this sport is growing.
Yeah.
So the dyno day though, what you mentioned that something went wrong that day. Was it the car that went wrong, or was it the family ordeal?
No. So from the first dyno day, we basically, this is the first time that me and Adrian have used PDMs, right? So Link ECU, we have 3 PDMs. And essentially the way these work is, obviously you don't have fuses anymore, right? Like no relays, no fuses. So the PDM is giving the signal that it needs to every component, right? So let's say with our water pump, we had issues with the water pump operating, and we just didn't understand that the duty cycle being set at 100, the PDM's parameters was not like happy with that. So we were just on the dyno with the time we had, and we just weren't able to make a fuel pump and a water pump all like happy. And so this just ended up taking us back home, and then trying to like learn a little bit more, and then coming back to the dyno. What do you think, Adrian?
Yeah. Along with that, we actually, I think Nate had forgotten, but we had an issue with our throwout bearing. Basically, we had a seal blow in our throwout bearing, and that's something that we're really used to. I've done multiple of those on the 240, and we have the same throwout bearing on the 240. So I knew exactly what it was, and I came back here thinking that I was going to go back the next day. And so I flipped it real quick and went back, or I was going to go back, but then we wanted to do a couple things of ironing out those programming deals on the car. So,
Okay. And then I guess going back to the dyno, what was the kind of number range y'all were shooting for versus what it actually hit?
I mean, actually, what internally I was shooting for, we hit. But to say it again, It's like, I know the motor will do, let's say 789s, right? So 700, 800, 900. But again, dude, like this engine costs a lot of money, and I really want this engine
You want to put a price tag on it?
I mean,
I'm sure that's really hard to with how much shit's on it. But.
I mean, not really. I got an invoice.
Oh, well, okay.
But just remember that price doesn't have the dry sump in it.
Yeah, true. But so long story short, it was just, I wanted to make sure that we could put down some some good numbers and show that, the Rad Industries 342J is a really well-built engine. Because I think Dan sells them, right? So you could go buy the same engine from Dan. But the point of the story was, I wanted to make sure I can go to Grid Life and run 50 laps in the engine. So we pushed it to 780, and technically we ran a little bit out of like fuel delivery. Which held us back. So we just need to call up Deechworks, grab some new fuel pumps, throw them in. We have their 300s, but we need the 420s.
Yeah.
And then we'll be on. So the engine will easily like break 800s, but we stopped at 780.
It still does.
Yeah, we stopped at 780, which feels insane.
Is this the first car you've had at that number? No?
Well, originally my Anjuku V8
was at that point.
That did like 940s to the wheel, seriously.
Fucking Christ, I didn't know it was
in
that.
FD it was 940.
But this was me in 14, 15, and then 16 I was kind of tapering off. So feels like that was a long time ago, and I don't really have that like on my brain, you know what I mean? So,
well, yeah, that's fair.
So in current day, even in the JZ platform, I've never had an engine like this. I've never had a 3.4. I've never had 780 horsepower to the wheel. It's crazy.
Jesus. Well, okay, so then speaking of Rad Dan, what did he have to say to the first startup and seeing it on the dyno and everything finally? Like, what was his opinion on all of this?
Yeah, Dan stayed plugged in, man. He was super supportive. He answered all of our questions. We called him like 100 times. And truthfully, like, we know we needed an engine, and I knew my game plan with the money was to put it in my friends' pockets, right? So like, I'm the type of kid that wants to print some t-shirts, and I don't want to reinvent the wheel on how to make a 2J better than anyone could have ever made it because I'm going to build one, right? I wanted to buy packages like, MA's Winter's quick change and MA's 4-speed gearbox and Rad Dan's 2J. And I wanted to plug that all in and hope that it would work seamlessly. So yeah, dude, Dan stayed super plugged in, helped us along the whole way, gave us all his secrets.
Yeah.
And really just allowed us to expedite a super like stout engine.
That's awesome. How many pro cars does he have an engine in now? Do you know?
A lot. I think.
It's got to be an absurd amount.
Yeah.
Does the majority of people in FD go to him for 2Js?
I actually don't know. I can't say, man. I'm not too plugged in with like his output, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know that since I've met him as a young kid, he's been at it, right? So like I knew he had the formula. I had to kind of ask with some butter if he'd share it, and he did, man. So it was cool.
Hell yeah. Well, he wants to come on, so we'll get that story from him.
Absolutely.
Is it, before I go a little further, is there anything like extra that you want to play into all of that we
No, that was
basically covers it?
Yeah.
I want to make sure we're getting your perspective too,
Yeah,
because
no, for sure.
you're almost the most important part of this build.
So I appreciate it.
Well, okay, then what do you guys have mindset wise going in? Well, shit, you're not doing a fucking test day. You're going to a commercial. Well, then what's the mindset going to a commercial then?
The same mindset as testing.
Yeah.
Find what the problem is?
Well, not necessarily the problem. Like that's why you see us so active in the backyard right now is because the backyard is very low chassis speed. So there's a lot of load on the actual drivetrain, right? Like when we get to a track and we have more chassis speed, technically there should be less load on the drivetrain. So like what we're doing in the backyard is really abusive. So if we're going to break some shit, we're trying to break it now. And then when we go to the track though, what we're thinking more of is just shock settings, brake bias, gearing, the same thing we would do for testing, we would plug into this commercial shoot, right? So if I get to do turn 9 6 times, maybe we get 6 shock settings.
Okay. What is this? I guess then what is the commercial going to consist of?
Find out.
Share that.
Find out later. I can't,
No?
dude.
Oh, you can't? Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's like it's just a,
This will be out in like a month. I'm like 4 or 5 episodes ahead. So
then y'all will be able to look back at the YouTube and see the behind the scenes.
there you go. Link in the description. Hell yeah. Okay, then I guess when you finally do get to the first test day, you said you're just going to be focused on suspension stuff, or you?
What are
you focused on?
So yeah, obviously all like oil pressure, fuel pressure throughout the RPM range, oil temperature. Because we've only tested this car on a dyno and then in the backyard. So over a few hot laps, we're curious on seeing what the oil temp is when the chassis speed is higher. Obviously, the coolant temp once it hits all those, I guess, really hard hits and high RPM, and then also just like temperatures of inside the cabin, how smoked out he's going to get inside the car because it's not sealed very well yet. And just a few things like that on top.
Pro car props.
On top of getting data for what we could do with the tire, what we could do with the suspension, how much travel we could get out of it, how much, like what the suspension will do under high load and things like that. We're going to be looking at all of that stuff.
Man.
Yeah. It's like we're going to take the principles that we've learned with the 240 and just apply them to the GR, which would be like toe settings, camber settings, toe gain settings, caster settings in the front end. How does that feel with steering? Tire pressures in the front and rear. Obviously with the RPM and the tire and the wheel, everything is changing. So all of our math is kind of shaken up. But generally speaking, we know like showing up to a competitive race, we have X amount of runs to try to dial the car in.
Right.
So we just apply that same kind of formula without knowing any of the equations finalized just yet.
The basis
Yeah.
of all of it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay, so then what is y'all's, I guess, plan going into this season? Like where all, I know you said grid lives and stuff like that. Where all are y'all planning to have this car showcased?
Yeah, so luckily, with Accelera's plans evolving, the car is not going to like a Formula Drift debut, let's say.
Right.
So for us, Adrian and I are kind of like wiping the sweat off of our face, right? And we're like, cool. Now we have a full built race car and we get to go just have fun with this and basically ride K-rails, break it, fix it, and enjoy it. And this will help us mechanically get used to it. But speaking of events, I would say, obviously LZ World Tour will be the first competition in it. So that was actually announced. So we're going to head to California in March. And then we've got like Fuel Fest in our backyard. We've got, we're trying to pivot on a Hyperfest because things are they're double booking us. So like an LZ World Tour Canada overlaps with Hyperfest.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think the just points are Fuel Fest, Hyperfest, Grid Life, LZ World Tour, and anything kind of local, like the Lone Star Drift events. We go do some demos up at CODA.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Hell yeah. On that, since it is going to be fun events and stuff, are you more nervous this year with this chassis being in front of a big crowd of people, or do you think that makes you a better driver?
Yeah, I think it's going to make me a better driver. I think like for me, this is the year where Nate gets to come off the V8 and onto the JZ platform. And that was literally like the core reason why this became a thing was because I was so used to the current platform with the 240 and the V8 that I almost felt like I really needed to like reinvent my own skill set, right? Like I wanted to prove, because I feel that as a team we have done so well, whether it be winning North Dakota multiple times, winning the LZ World Tours, like the 240 is very comfortable, and we know that 600 horsepower in a 240 can win races. But I think for Nate, in the branding of where I wanted to go, I just wanted to be able to say, I could do it in a JZ and I can do it in a V8.
You want the flex points, basically?
I just needed the new challenge, right? Like, what if I go to the race and I actually struggle with the low end of the JZ, right? Or what if I need to learn that stuff so I have that kind of in my memory, right? Like, I want to experience some new.
On a lower level, I'm kind of feeling the same thing. Yeah, it's my first turbo car, so I agree.
And it really reminded me, Adrian, of when we were at Clutch Kickers and we drove the Corvette. Right, like we had a hurt engine that I don't think we could get back in time, or whatever the math was. And I had to drive Zach's Corvette at Clutch Kickers.
Yeah, okay.
But it was like, hey man, just jump in this Corvette and try to win the race. And it was kind of like, all right, cool.
I guess that's what we're doing today.
But I was so like uncomfortable that it brought me so much like confidence by the end of the race, because I was able to get comfortable and be like, oh wow, I could jump in a Corvette and do really well as well. So then I started to kind of dream on like what could be next, or what's a challenge. You feel me?
Yeah, that's interesting. All right. Well, I guess in a world where this entire season for the debut of this car goes absolutely perfect, from this moment, what is your vision going into next season? If you've even had any ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I think like what everybody wants to know is like, will I ever return to Formula Drift, right? Like, will I ever return to like a high profile competition event? And I think the answer is yes, but it's gonna have to be under the right circumstances. Like if Toyota calls, and if Papadakis calls, and if someone needs me to drive something for them and I get to join kind of that expedited data for that time, I would definitely do it, right? Like us as 144 Sprint House and Racing Studio, I think we're gonna kind of keep the grassroots energy alive for years to come, because we have to keep building the business to support that type of program. B, I think a lot of the partners in the 144s program are enjoying the grassroots marketplace. So there's that whole like, the roads are separating, right? Like if I go to Formula Drift this year, I have more partnerships upset at me than hyped on me.
That's crazy.
But it's just
so crazy to think. Well, like not that that's like wrong or anything. I'm saying because the average viewer is always shedding the light on FD is the way to go, and FD is the way to gain the sponsorship. And let me talk to like the marketplace and the drivers, right? Like I definitely think that going to Formula Drift is a goal for all of us drivers, because the confidence and the validity and the series is such a cool place to be. So I will say for obviously everybody driving Formula Drift, like I want to be there too. And I think that there's nothing wrong with it, and it is so cool. But let me say this, reverse engineering my own program,
I've just built the grassroots to be what it is. Meaning, sorry, I built the grassroots imagery of my program to be the highlighted value prop, right? So I've got my people on the hook to go to a Grid Life and Hyperfest and Fuel Fest and all these different marketplaces where I do not have them on the hook to go to Formula Drift, right? But like, you know, I know multiple of my friends running Formula Drift where their value prop is Formula Drift. And they've got partnerships that cover all of it, and they're stoked, and they're equally as benefiting monetarily as we are in the grassroots scene. I just built it for grassroots because Adrian is on year 2. And you know what I'm saying? Like we're just not as big as maybe the media.
Just not at that scale.
Yeah. And we're having fun with this, dude. And I know that if we ever, Adrian, go to Formula Drift, it will just be a bit less fun because we have to either win races or we don't return the next year.
Yeah.
And that is a different energy in the room than going to Grid Life and saying, we need to give 50 ride-alongs because I sold them, and then we get to drink some beer.
Right.
It's just different.
Yeah. Do you think that side of drifting is kind of being pushed to the sidelines, like as far as competition stuff and being the route to go? Because I would say I'm more on your side of things. I like the grassroots side of it. I still think that is more enjoyable to the spectators and just anyone in general trying to watch and get into drifting. It just seems better.
I mean, my perspective on it is just like, it's just like skateboarding, right? $100 skateboard, $100,000 drift car. But what we need in the industry, in my opinion, is it to go everywhere, right? We need the pro class to love pro racing, and we want those pros to be pros, and then we want the grassroots kids to be grassroots kids. And then that's where I'm trying to blend it all and be like, we need Vans to call us, or we need Nike to call us, or we need, you know, to be lifestyle, to bring new energy into drifting. So we need all of it, right? Like, I don't think drifting's going, oh, comp's not cool. Oh, Grid Life's cool. Oh, Grid Life's not cool. Comp's cool, right? Like,
yeah.
As drivers,
they've all got their own taste.
They do, and we need it all. The same way as Street League skateboarding and Thrasher Skater of the Year. Like, those are way too different competitions. And then that's what we need in drifting. So we need it all. We just need the lifestyle element to be highlighted so we could get sponsored by New Balance and we could get sponsored. You know what I mean?
God,
Like,
that would be so sick.
it will happen.
Oh my God.
It will happen. That's the thing. It will happen.
Yeah. Actually, my dad had a running joke as I was a kid, is that one of his children better be sponsored by Nike by the time they're 18 or fucking 25, whatever the age was. I don't remember. But the day Njuku came on board, I sent him a picture of the contract, and I was like, this may not be Nike, but I did something.
Exactly, dude. And I just think you never know, man. And that's why I think in drifting, like, I'm going to voice it where I just think we need less opinions and we just need more action, and everyone's got to follow their own path. And then once we get, like I did the podcast with Ryan Acevedo, and it's like, he's going to go drift and then put on a live show, right?
Yeah.
Like he's going to drift all day at OSW and then go throw a concert with his dad afterwards. And I think, like, why wouldn't Miller High Life sponsor them? Right? Like, why wouldn't a lifestyle company look
Bud
at
Light,
that?
save your brand.
Right. But you know, it's just that is what we need in drifting versus, oh, I'm an FT driver. Oh, I'm a grassroots driver. Oh, I'm, you know, just like our little categories where it's just, let's just all go skate and then have fun and then let the world like enjoy it all.
Hell yeah.
I like that.
What's your opinion? What you got on that?
I mean, the same thing. Like, I actually really enjoy the lifestyle side of things. Obviously, I'm not here as a born mechanic to want to be in drifting.
Right.
I actually really enjoy streetwear. I really enjoy skating and all that stuff. And it just blows my mind that it's not all in one. You know, there's so much opportunity for that to happen, but it's not happening. So that's why I don't really care to go to FD as a mechanic, but I enjoy what we're doing right now because we are including ourselves in lifestyle. We are actually right now trying to be the stop.
Yeah, you're finding the balance of all of that to set the momentum for everyone else.
Something that was coming to my mind when you were saying that, Adrian, was like, I ran into Malcolm, who started Ethica at Supercross. And so I've been able to kind of gain some of this perspective where it was like competition drifting is confusing. Grassroots drifting is so grassroots that it's hard to understand at some level for, let's say, corporations or others looking in on us. But what isn't that hard to understand is trying to bring someone to mind, but like, you know, Chelsea DeNofa's like attitude towards the industry is marketable, right? His opinions and his attitude makes Chelsea DeNofa. So it's like, regardless of what car program he's running or whatever, he's not connected to a team or a grassroots or a car. He's Chelsea DeNofa.
Yeah,
you know
he's
what I'm saying?
distinguished himself.
But that will allow him, that will allow Monster to stick with him. That'll allow a brand to stick with you. Because so if Nate Hamilton can just be a lifestyle kid coming from nothing to go to drift, then that's like the value prop, where a lot of us have to say, oh, my car is my value prop. Oh, the series I'm running is the value prop. Oh, whatever. You know, you following me?
That's interesting, man. People don't shed light on that enough. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I just see that for drifting, man. We just need to break out of the value prop being the series, and then the value props being the drivers.
Yeah,
as people, as personalities, right? Like, and
because I always say, like, I wish, especially in Formula Drift, Japan does it really good. They have their characters and stuff. The drivers are actual characters, and like Andy does it, the wizard thing, fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Why isn't that here in the U.S. with all of them? They all do their weird, like, little wave to the camera when they're
but like a lot of times in Japan, it's like this dude's known for either legitimately like his style behind the wheel, or this dude's known for they create this body kit, right? Which is just like creating a t-shirt, right? So it's like they're known for the lifestyle side of it, and they're not necessarily saying, oh, this dude's known for winning the most races.
Yeah.
You very rarely hear that in drifting. Obviously, shout out to James Dean, but like you very rarely hear like, oh, I'm the most winningest drifter, so I'm sponsored on a Red Bull level. It's very rare. Yeah. It's more like, hey, this dude's creative and he can.
Shanahan's are a good example of that.
Yeah.
Right. Red Bull.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I just think bridging that hopefully would bring a whole new sponsorship package to drifting. Thus, these kids that are at East 10 and these kids that are in the grassroots scene can come up and have opportunities to be even float on lifestyle brands to, you know, feed the kids, bro.
Hell yeah. Well, I definitely appreciate the mindset you got sharing that. All right. Well, I guess we'll jump into kind of the last questions I do at the end of every podcast. I added this one since the last time you were on. So you have a bone stock version of the car you have, and people give me shit because I cut this out of the reels to get people to comment, but you have tires. You already have tires. And you have $3,000 to spend on the car to get you to your very first track day. What parts are you going to prioritize? You can start first if you want. You want to start whatever.
I mean, I don't really drift like that, but I guess
you build them though.
Yeah,
no excuses.
Hey, you're close to this, Adrian. Like, you're this kid.
Yeah, I mean, true. I guess the first thing. Oh, you said three things.
No, you have so you have a bone stock car.
Okay,
the version of your car that you have now, just bone stock. You have tires, and you have $3,000 to spend at Njuku's website. So, with all of the variety of parts that you can buy on Njuku's website, what parts would you prioritize? It doesn't have to be a specific number, just $3,000.
Coilovers, angle kit, handbrake. Hopefully that's in the Corvettes have terrible steering.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, I mean that was a really good answer.
Yeah, and that's like dead nuts at $3,000 pretty much.
Yeah.
Might be a couple.
Or maybe I would
short.
change the handbrake to like a seat. That way you're just like planning.
I would say that myself, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say I would add a seat, and then I would basically try to get, AK at Njuku to redeem my money, and I would try to get a trailer because I'm gonna break the car and I don't want to tow it home. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna try to get a trailer first.
Different angles, man. Love it. Hell yeah. right. Well, I guess then we'll go into your best piece of advice for anyone just getting into drifting. And actually, if you want to do it a little bit differently, you can do best advice for anyone trying to make a career in drifting or whatever it is.
I guess be willing to help any way you can. Don't try and be like the person where you have to force yourself on someone, but just have your arms open and just help any way that you can. And I believe someone will, take it.
100%.
I think that's my best advice.
Definitely.
There.
Nice.
What you got?
Say it again.
Your best piece of advice for anyone. Well, for you, it'd be best piece of advice for anyone getting into drifting.
Like, are they coming off of like they're ready to go to an event, or is it just like kids that don't even have a car yet?
Fresh. Don't have a car.
Me.
People that are like, they're sitting here watching this right now. They're like, man, I really like drifting, but it just seems so unfeasible.
Yeah. I mean, under promise, over deliver, and then time is your best friend, right? Like, I really do believe I'm gonna be 65 running laps and K rails. So like, the only way that I know how to give advice on getting into drifting as a young kid on the couch right now is the same way that I did it, which was it could take you a year to buy a motor. That's cool. You got a year, buy a motor, right? Spend all of your earnings that you could put in your piggy bank on buying a motor. That's 1 year. Move on. Next thing, 4 or 5 years later, doesn't matter, right? Like, if you're actually going to get into it, you'll find out that some things will fall into place and people will see your passion and things will like align for you if you're actually about it like that. If you're not about it like that, then I think you're still on the couch and you're wondering how to get into drifting. But I think you would stack up as long as it takes you to just get into something super simple and then enjoy that process, because once you then get that far, you're going to blow that motor and then you're going to do that again for a year. And then on top of that, just trying to learn just a little bit of business. I think if I was younger and I learned a little bit of business, maybe I would have never left FD. Maybe I would have been able to build a motor quicker than a year, because there's certain ways that you can leverage yourself to work with people, and, being creative in business in motorsports can take you a long way. So I think just one foot in front of the other, time is your best friend, and give yourself that time and patience. And then, if I can carry on a little bit here, I did want to say to the guys that are coming out of grassroots and maybe going into Pro-Am, I was speaking to a buddy of mine the other day, and it was like, try to disconnect yourself from, let's say, partnerships that are going on in the background versus the series that you're going to run. And we spoke specifically about this series makes me run this tire, but I want to grow with this tire brand, but I can't run this tire brand at this series. And so the confusion was, my name is Nate Hamilton and I want to run this series, but then that means I can't run this tire, which is not the truth, right? Being able to talk to whoever tire partner you're working with saying, hey, what up? I'm going to run this series, and for these 4 rounds, I'm going to have to run this tire. Please excuse me. But then everything else I'm going to be doing on your tire, my goals at driving are this. Is this cool? Disconnect yourself from the series and allow the driver or the athlete to speak for your brand, and still go drive the series you got to drive to get the points you got to get the results you need, to get the certificate you need to move up.
God, if y'all take anything out of this podcast, take that.
It was a huge one.
That's something that I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah, it was a huge one because, the buddy called and he was like, hey, how do I keep this going while I have to do this? And I was like, easily. Right? You tell the current tire partner, like tell them what you're up to and why you're driving that series. And then, let that series know that you'll run the tire you have to run. You keep your current stickers on the car, and then you can do both. You literally can do both. But I think a lot of times people think, oh, if I run this series, I got to run this tire. That means I better get in with this tire company. But you're monopolized to have to run this tire for that series. And then you've got the entire class barking at that door. So why would you not carry on your current tire opportunity and then just go do what you got to do in that series real quick?
Yeah.
I love that. People don't share that shit enough.
That's what this should just be titled.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God. All right. And this one, okay. This one's a little deeper. It's your one message to the entire world. If you had the opportunity to speak to the entire world, what would you say?
Where does he get these? How do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's deep.
Get it, Adrian?
Well, me and Bailey just watched a Bob Marley thing on Netflix.
Right.
So yeah, just like love everyone. That's all I can really say. I'm in that mind space right now. It's just like there's no reason to argue or to have like hate towards someone or anger towards someone just because you think differently from them. We're all just here, to live.
Absolutely.
Just live and be happy. So
What you got?
Epic. I don't even know, man. I honestly don't know.
Damn.
I mean,
You asked where that came from. It's do you know who Drew Binksy is on YouTube?
not off the top of my head.
He's basically just a world traveler. He travels. He's been to every single country in the world, and he'll ask random people in villages and stuff, like, if you could speak to the entire world, what would you say? That's where I got that from.
Damn.
Because people that live in villages and like around the world. This is so off topic. I'm sorry, but like, they have a completely different perspective on life, and I love watching those videos for that, just to kind of be more cultured around the world. But yeah, that's where the question came from.
I don't know what to say, Dawson. I mean, I loved Adrian's answer, but I don't know, to the entire world, I would just say, like, the world's gonna keep going. You know what I mean? So, like, be a part of it and be the best you for it, because the world, I guess, inevitably is gonna keep going. So you might as well kind of, be the best you in the world.
Yeah, whatever path you're on.
Yeah, dude, I don't know, man.
It's a tough one. Yeah, it's no worries. Yeah, well, that's basically all I got. So you have any closing words for the build or anything you want to announce for this coming year that we didn't speak on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people to thank on the build. So, like, I could try to run off a little list here, but I would say, obviously huge thanks to Accelera, Tire Streets, and the whole factory for really believing in us. And I think we have a really cool, sharp new tool in the shed to bring out. And I hope that, everyone watching can make it to the track and see the car in person. And I think, yeah, there's a whole list of sponsors that, like, literally allowed this to happen. And so, just thanks to the whole 144 camp for putting all this together and bringing my dream into the reality,
You got to get a ride along. It's crazy.
Yeah. And also, Dawson, thanks for having us back on.
Of course.
I think
let me come out.
Yeah, last time we got a lot of good results, and I know a lot of people tuned in, so it was cool to have you back, and hope you enjoy your time in Texas.
Oh, for sure. I'm here for all week, basically, doing several podcasts. So y'all got some good episodes coming up.
Well, if you have some free time, loop back around here, and then that car will probably be outside.
Yeah. I'll try and make it back out.
We'll be driving that thing like all
the
week.
hotel's only like 30 minutes away, so it's not super far.
Cool.
But yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that's pretty much all we got for this one. So if you haven't already, look below the video. Make sure that subscribe button is not still red. Go ahead and click it if it is, and hit the bell notification while you're at it. And then, of course, don't forget the BUMZ giveaway. Grab the merch. We're in the house. Grab it while you can. And then, especially when the new design comes out, I don't know what.
I think we're wrapping up design right now, and then production will take like less than 2 weeks. So whenever you're ready, Dawson.
Oh, so it might be out by now.
It'll be out by this video for sure.
Yeah.
Sick. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, go grab that too. Yeah, that's all I got. These outros are too long-winded. I'm sorry. Anyways, new episode each week, each Sunday. Thanks.